Welcome to another episode on the Move, Talk, Thrive podcast. Today, Emily and I are answering a listener question that has come in over the last couple of weeks. It's something that Em has heard a lot over her time mentoring and something that I hear on the regular as well. And it is, how do I know if I'm doing it right? Now, this is really a mindset problem. And so we really want to get down and unpack what mindset issue this is really having on us and how we can shift that mindset into a better one. All right. How do I know if I'm doing it right?
We are child development obsessed business besties and mums, and we're here to spill all our secrets.
We have a combined 30 years experience working with children, and each episode we will bring you up-to-date research and evidence-based strategies to set your children up to thrive.
I'm Lizzy Dawson, Australian exercise physiologist.
I'm Emily Mackey, Australian speech pathologist,
And this is the Move, Talk, Thrive podcast.
We always start our episodes laughing. It's our thing, isn't it? We always laugh at each other.
It's just my last sentence in the intro is always a little bit. I don't want to, I can't say the word I'm
Are
thinking.
you doing your intros right, Lizzy?
I don't know. Am I? Yeah, my mindset's off. It's not perfect. Oh, so this is something I think I get this question a lot with new grads, and it's not even the question, it's the feeling and, like you say, the mindset around it. And I feel like it's quite common when it comes to new grads.
Yeah, it's a really common feeling, particularly if you've gone from, like, say, high school straight to uni. So, like, they're really strong testing environments. And then you go straight from uni to work, you feel like you're being tested all the time because that's what uni does to you. It just test, test, test. And school, test, test,
Yeah,
test. And
yeah,
so there's, at school, it's like right or wrong. And so then you come into uni, and then you come into a workplace and it's like right or wrong, but it's not. I think it's obviously you have a very clear, like, unethical wrong, but we're not
yeah,
generally doing any of that. So when you're in the other zone of just trying to do your best, it can be great, right?
totally. And I think the problem with framing it this way in terms of your mindset and working, particularly in pediatrics, is that it can actually kind of be a blocker, or it can interrupt that connection piece. And I think that is the most important piece when we're working with people. So I always say to my team, you don't need to, like, nail everything. Like, you don't need to know everything. You don't need to get everything right. You don't have to have all the answers. You need to be able to connect with people. And when you can connect with people, then we can, influence change. It's not about knowing the exact exercise and having the exact answers. And it's actually okay to say, I'm not sure.
Mm, you have to, because you're not going to know everything all the time. And so we need to be honest. And if we're then saying, I'm not sure, then you can like seek support really well
Yeah,
and get
exactly.
help from people around you.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's one of the strategies that you would do if you weren't sure and you were wanting to know, like, that's a practical strategy. So if you're thinking that, the question, it is pretty normal, like Lizzy said, it's a feeling, right? And, like,
Mm,
then we articulate it and go, am I doing it right? But like you said, when you phrase it that way, you're focusing on the task. You're not focusing on the person, because it's, am I doing it right? And it's always like you're referring to a task. Because you wouldn't be saying that if you're talking about, you know, talking to a parent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or a client, am I doing it right?
Yeah, or a client. Yes. Yeah, like you don't say that. So it's generally when you're focusing, then you'd be so that question is getting you to focus on tasks rather than people. but we do need to focus on our tasks with the people, but you really want to have a good mindset and a focus if you're not sure. And the focus is going to be on the person.
And I think that it also feels quite like final, that there's only right and wrong, and really steps away from progress and celebrating, small progressions, which when you're working with kids or people with complex needs, like this is really important. So this is something that I sat down with my team and did last Easter, so 2024. And I had three new grads on the Kids Heart Pilates team, and we kind of unpacked. And this is something that unpacked how they were feeling. And this is something that came up quite a lot. And so we identified one of our values as being progress over perfection, because not only is it really important for their mindset and the team, and even just within the team dynamics, it was really important for us to be living and breathing that, because it's important for our clients,
Mm,
because the way in which they show up and the way in which they're progressing through intervention, we really want to be focusing on progress, not perfection, not right and wrong, but
mm,
trying really hard and those small little wins.
mm. And that's so important if our children or our clients have a lifelong disability, because they are probably thinking that, and it's a lifelong. They're always going to be having new challenges. And so it's kind of the same with us, right? We always talk about personal development and growth. So if you're not having new challenges, you're not growing. So,
Yeah.
it's probably like we said, a mindset thing. So we don't want to be perfectionists, because that's unachievable. And if we try to be perfectionists, we will burn out, because it's not realistic. It's not reality. And especially in your first maybe 1 to 3 years, because there's just so much to learn. And once you sort of get a handle on one clinical area, then there's another clinical area, or it's then being able to handle a client long term, for 2 years rather than 1 year or 3 years. And it's then handling, once you get your mind around the clinical side, then it might be a paperwork, or it might be a networking issue, or it might be a business issue. So there's always going to be something in that space of 1 to 3 years in that journey that you don't know, because we can't know. So we can't aim for perfection, is or to be perfect really at the start. And so,
Or ever.
or ever, I was going to say, or ever in our journey, right? Because then in our journey, then we're always then going to be progressing. We might take on a new role, new responsibilities. We might then be challenged by putting, balancing life, if you've got a family and work, it's not just about work. So you're always going to be growing. So bottom line is, don't ask yourself that question. It's not, but the reason is because it's not serving you. So don't feel bad if you've asked yourself that question. The main thing is education and going, okay, so how can I phrase a different question to myself to help myself and to help serve my clients and my team and my workplace?
Yeah, and I think what's important to practice is, if this question is coming up or this feeling is coming up, then show yourself some compassion, because it, yeah, it is. I think it's quite normal to feel this
Mm,
way, and even now, I'm stepping into new roles or new businesses or new programs, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm doing this right. Or, do you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like it's always going to pop up, but I think I just have to remind myself, right? I don't need to know everything. I am learning, and learning is, for me, it makes me so happy. Like, learning is so
mm.
powerful. And you know what? Sometimes getting it wrong and making mistakes is the best thing that you can possibly do. So I
Well, it's
think,
unavoidable. It's part of the
yeah,
journey.
yeah,
You're
that's
going to make
right.
mistakes. You're going to mess it up.
Yeah.
It's just
So
the reality.
yeah, exactly. So I think having some compassion for yourself and having periods of reflection, and then really leaning on the support that you have. So in businesses, creating that psychological safety that we have talked about in the past, so that our teams can talk to one another, lean on one another, and us as leaders in them, or the leaders of the business, to come and ask questions and be curious and voice those concerns.
Mm. And like we said, everyone's on a journey. So it is good to get that support from others in your team and different perspectives. But because it's a journey, we have to, like most people listening to our podcast and here, thank you for being here, would probably be no one's like doing anything unethical, right? Like no one's doing anything illegal. So we have to know that for the most part, we're asking ourselves this question, but it's because we have a desire to want to do our best. And we want to give everyone a fantastic service that is really high quality. And we
Mm,
want our clients and parents and families and teams and companies to get great results. So it's it's not so when it's not like it's black and white. It's not like it's right and wrong. So that is sometimes where it can feel a bit difficult because it's not a clear answer,
mm,
but we're on a journey at the same time. So for me, the statement or the question, I should say, the question that I like to ask myself is, am I doing this to the best of my ability right now? Because if you leave off the right now, it's, am I doing this to the best of my ability? And people might say, well, I know I've still got X, Y, and Z to learn. So no, it's not to the best of my ability. But because we're on this journey, it's right now. So for what I know, for what I've planned for with my mentors, what I've researched with evidence-based practice, what I've learned at uni, what I've learned from previous clients, like putting all that all together for right now, this is the best that I can do. And as long as you can answer that question, then it, you've sort of got like it's a moving ballpark figure, because then the next week it will be the same question, but it will be better because you've increased an experience. So
yeah.
I think if you're asking yourself that question, flip it for the reasons we've said so. But also the other thing, which we talk about a lot, is your self-worth. And so, am I doing this right? And you're speaking, me and Lizzy are very high achievers. So, it's coming from people who are very high achievers, but making sure that your self worth or your identity is not wrapped up in doing it right
Yeah.
and getting, you know, getting a gold star. But that is like what the school system tells us to do, and uni tells us to do. You have to get
Give
the
me
highest
a
mark.
gold star. I want a gold star.
And I feel like it's so stupid, the system, because that's the way we've been brought up with school. And I
Oh,
even got, like, back in the day, we got gold stars on our uniform and things. But and so then you sort of, you can sometimes then get a bit muddled in there, because you think, if I'm not doing it right, I fall to pieces, because this is who I am. And this is like, this represents my identity. And it doesn't at all. And so we have this mindset that we want to be the best that we can be. We want to be awesome clinicians for our clients, for our workplaces, for our team, for our colleagues. But we can then have some nice affirming statements to ourselves that actually, because when you're in that state, you're not thinking clearly, you're putting stress on your brain. So same with our children, we're going to be anxious with our mind, not going to think clearly and think through things. So we need to have some statements that I like. I'm amazing. I am an amazing clinician. Okay, so I know that I have experience. I'm capable of getting the answers that I need for this child. I have support around me, and I am open to getting feedback for myself to help this child and their family thrive. Feedback is the best thing for my growth. That's a good statement. I like that, because sometimes, even for me, it can be really difficult if I feel like I'm getting bad feedback. That's a journey. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the profession or how long you've been doing what you've been doing. Just having those affirming statements. You're the queen of affirmations, Lizzy.
am I?
I feel like you are.
Well, what I'm thinking as you're talking is Well, what I actually did right then was I was like, okay, if I'm saying, oh my gosh, am I doing this right? Like, which feels quite natural for me to go there. I'm like, oh my God, am I doing this right? I don't want to send this because I don't think it's right, or like checking something like that, just that perfectionistic,
Yeah.
tendency. And then I was like, what am I like? What are the core beliefs underneath that are taking me down that path? And that is
Mm.
going to be different for everyone. So the affirmations that you generate,
Yes.
what use should be applicable to what thoughts and triggers come up from that. So for me, that went to, I don't know enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, you
So
know,
your affirmation would be, I
I am
am
enough.
smart. I am enough.
I am enough. I'm smart enough. I know enough right now.
Mhm.
I bring enough to the table. I care enough. Like enough,
Mm.
enough. Because that's my underlying, like nothing is enough. And it like is literally underlines everything of those like negative little unhelpful thoughts inside
Mm.
of me. Like I don't have enough. I'm gonna run out. Like I don't have enough money. I don't have enough people. I don't have enough energy. I don't have, I don't know, enough
Yeah, so you
anything.
would be rephrasing that and saying, I have enough energy, or I have activities that I know I can do to give me the energy that I need. You know?
Yeah.
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 What, when you think about that and go back to,
Mm.
that mindset, what comes up for you?
I think it's a fear for me of not having the answers. So
Mm,
for me,
not
that's
being right.
yeah. So that's why for me it's about support. Like I know that I can find the answers if I don't have the answer right now. I
Yeah.
know that I will be able to sort it out. I don't like to be in chaos or stressed. So I can um I am in control of my, or say the situation of my time. So
Yeah.
I can put time aside to
Yeah.
process or whatever it is I need. Mine is very, because I'm a ideas person, mine is always a bit solution focused. And this is the thing, like it will change per person.
Yeah.
Um, but and I guess that's what I always say to my team about affirmation statements. You can get the affirmation cards and they're great, but you affirmations work to what you're speaking to for yourself. So, you can just do that yourself. Like, like you said, and you and I are
Yeah.
both very different. But
Yeah.
I think the another big one that I use for myself is like I said about the feedback. Feedback is best for my growth because sometimes it can be um like a bit of an imposter syndrome, like, oh, I've been found out that I don't know that.
Yeah.
I've
Totally.
been found
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And so it's like feedback is the best for my growth. And
Yeah.
the other one I like to use is failure is not for me. I'll use every opportunity to grow and get better. And that kind of goes in with the feedback, like I'm not failing. Um,
There's no
and
such thing
yeah,
as failing. There's no such
no,
thing as failing,
no.
right?
But
Like,
we think it in our minds, right? We go, oh, I failed that. Like, not I failed that. Oh, I could have done that better. Oh,
yeah.
that didn't pan out. Oh, I wish I'd just done this.
Yeah.
If I'd done this, this would have been better. And so again, that is actually a good reflection. Like if I had done X, Y, and Z, it would have been better. So you would then do X, Y, and Z next time. But it's then how you frame that in your mind and you don't put that on yourself, your self-worth. And you're
Yeah.
going, okay, if I had done that, I'll do that better next time. But I'm still an amazing clinician. I'm still an
Yeah.
amazing person. I have just reflected and I've not failed. I've just turned that X, Y, and Z into an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that is probably the true definition of self-awareness because you've got awareness over the thought that's coming to then guide it to
Yeah.
serve you.
So I think a really important thing to do, if this is something that's popping up on the regular, is have some reflection time, whether that's on your own or with a mentor or both, probably both. But one, look at what feelings are coming up underlying, like underlying thoughts and feelings. Like what are these
And your self-talk of
worries?
your self-talk. Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe a reflection piece on like if it's a particular session, just say with a client, what did I do well in that session?
Mm.
What could I have done better? What could I have done differently? Maybe better than better. What could I have done differently? Where can I get feedback? Because I think sometimes we're scared to get feedback because we're scared that it's going to confirm imposter.
Mm, mm.
But remembering that feedback can be really constructive, and without that feedback, we don't know what to do. We don't know where to grow, I guess.
And feedback can be positive. Even
Absolutely.
on this podcast, I frame feedback as negative, but it's not. It's positive. That's just my experience.
Yeah. Yeah. We should be
So
seeking
feedback
feedback.
can be positive.
Yeah, and the people giving the feedback, that's probably another episode. Like feedback, how to get it, how to give it, I think would be a good one, because I know sometimes I really struggle giving feedback. But I'm doing, like, if I'm providing feedback, it is quite helpful for someone to
Mhm.
to get it. And you've obviously got to do it in a way that is helpful. You got to be constructive about it. But uh I I feel like I'm quite open to feedback. I get scared by it because of that perfectionist person that I can be, but it is definitely something I feel like I am accountable and I'm responsible. So I'll take feedback and I'll be like, okay, yeah, I do overshare, or whatever it is. Uh, and then it's only then when I get that feedback that I can actually do something with it.
And
But I
sometimes you may choose not to do. You might discern, okay, no, I'm actually okay to do that. Like we're not talking about illegal things here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you can actually then discern. You don't have to take the feedback on.
Yeah, that's right.
If
Or you don't have to take the way you can do what you need to do with that feedback. There might be a different
Yes.
way or approach that you take.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll have to do an episode on that. I feel like that
yeah,
is a lot to unpack there.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
feedback.
But I think the important thing to realize here is that if you're asking yourself that question, you obviously care.
Mm.
And
And
that's,
that's
that's
good.
massive. That's so good. So
Yeah.
I think, caring enough to be curious on, how you can be doing things in a different way, perhaps a better way, in being curious in what you need to learn and grow, be curious enough to get feedback, to be curious enough to ask that question, I think is a really, that's a solid place to start. It's just
Mm.
going to take a little bit of reflection and a little bit of reframing to really get the most out of being open to that feedback.
And like we said, you're on a journey. So, you're not going to know everything all at once. Not even all at once. You're going to be learning everything. And so, you're going to get feedback at different times that things aren't going well, but you then need to go, okay, I will learn every detail with time. It takes time. And each client that you see is going to help you grow because they're going to reveal more and more details to you about a condition or a treatment or whatever it is. So we would encourage you this week to think about that question if you're asking that. Think about the statements that we've talked about, what your main focus would be to reframe that in your mind. And I would encourage you to just see how your mindset, your perspective, even your body changes. Because as you have more positive thoughts in your mind, that flows then out through to your body. And you'll probably notice you might be a bit more relaxed. You're not as tense in your back or something like that. Focus on the positive and the opportunities and focus on the future rather than on the lack. And we'd love to know if this shifts your thinking, because that's what it should do when you're flipping statements like this and your mindset is changing. It will shift your thinking, which then in turn shifts your behavior and will make you even better as a clinician. So we hope you've enjoyed this episode, short and sweet, but if you've got any other questions, please write them in and we'd love to talk about them. Until next week, have a great week and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.